I'm Mark Hennick. This is So-Called Normal. Today on the show, we have Rosie O'Donnell. You probably remember her from the Rosie O'Donnell Show in the 90s. She won a pile of Emmys for that, became known as the Queen of Nice, and ended up leaving that show at the peak of its fame to raise her family, to spend time with her family. And, you know, that I've gotten to learn personally that that's the type of person that Rosie O'Donnell is. When I visited with her at her apartment in New York City to have this conversation a couple of months ago, that's the person that I saw, somebody real, somebody authentic, the person who people got to know later on The View, and now she's on the Showtime series SMILF. So we talk so much about family, about mental illness and mental health, and she discloses to me a little bit about, for the first time actually, some of her own struggles, and especially with being trolled and harassed by Trump followers. She's been a very outspoken opponent of U.S. President Donald Trump. And, you know, this is exactly the type of person that I wanted to talk to for a show like this, because I've been saying, and you're going to hear me say weekly from now on the show, that this isn't a show about mental health necessarily. It's a show about people's lives. It's a show about resilience and getting through and figuring it out, because that, for me, is normal. You know, for more than half my life, my normal has been living with mental health problems, to live with a mental illness. So I want to talk to people about their stories and how they figure it out too. And that's why I wanted to start off with Rosie O'Donnell. Anyway, here she is, Rosie O'Donnell, from her apartment in New York City. You know, in your line of work, I imagine, people don't really want to hear about all the struggle stuff. They want to hear about the glitz and glam and all the success, and, you know.
Yeah, but, you know, a lot of artists are broken people, and they come to their perspective by rearranging the, you know, clay that's in front of them, right? They make art out of whatever it is that they've lived through. And
comedy especially, it seems, and comedians.
Yes.
And that's how we, I think, originally got connected after Robin Williams died, and my TED Talk was making the rounds, I think, just because people were Googling suicide and it came up, really.
Yeah, that was a hard one for me, you know.
Yeah, for everybody, yeah. Did you work?
Yes, I knew him.
Yeah.
I worked with him in a lot of charity events, and once I spent the weekend with them doing the Paul Newman camp, where all the kids had cancer, and we ended up doing improv together, and it was like, you know, playing tennis against Martina in the 90s. Like, they, like, you know, he was just trying not to get hit by the ball. I mean, he was so quick, right? Like, I don't know, it was not a match of equals, I can tell you that. But he was loving and kind and generous as a performer as he was as a person. And it just is hard, you know. Suicide is so hard to begin with.
Yeah.
And my ex-wife killed herself on 9/11 this year.
It was on 9/11. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on 9/11. There was a big storm in Florida. She had remarried a woman who had a 5-year-old, and they had just adopted a 4-month-old baby. So there was a little newborn there as well. And, you know, some of the same symptoms that I had seen in my relationship with Michelle. You know, she had been sort of fairly healthy person, and she got this very rare cancer that was very painful, and then she got addicted to the pain meds.
Right.
And it's almost like her little tiny, she was a small person, her little 98-pound body, I don't know, she just...
Had she struggled before that at all with her thoughts, with her mind? No.
Not to anyone's knowledge.
Right.
None of her friends, her family. You know, I mean, I think that I know her father struggles. I think, like all of us, she had damage in her childhood in some way. You want to define that. And, you know, it was all too much for her.
Yeah.
All of it.
Did her struggle contribute to the relationship breaking down in terms of her? Yeah.
100%. You know, it became very clear to me that she was unwell. I have been treating my own mental illness, my own depressive state, my own PTSD, my own severe anxiety, OCD, as you see the enormity of my doodling or trying to get what is upsetting me out in some way, whether that be painting pictures of Trump or, it used to be doing collages of my family. It's still, I still, like, this is the room where they let you go crazy, is Joni Mitchell, you said upstairs, there is a room where they let you be crazy and human. And this is that room. So you have to be willing to participate in your mental health. And if you're not willing to participate in it, there's destruction all around, mostly to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I found out. Now, there are people who are very fit. They work out and they take great care of themselves. They don't eat meat. They don't have dairy. They don't have sugar. And I envy these people.
What's the fun in that?
Well, I don't know, because they'll tell you that their body and being fit and being healthy in their body is essential for them to feel good in their life and, in their head. And for me, I'm like, well, I'm trying to just get the head part under control.
Right. Yeah.
And of course I did things for my body size as well, like for which is really basic self-care, which is a huge symptom of depression. Huge, There are sometimes when I look online and I'll see me at an opening, premiere, where everyone else is dressed up in hair and makeup, and I look almost like I do right now. And I'm like in shock sometimes, like, I went to that event thinking that I was ready and presentable. Like, it's almost like the social norms just kind of drop from your periphery, and it's just too much. Just to get up and get there felt like enough. Like to actually think about blow drying my hair or putting on makeup. It's just, I look at it and I see the depression. Or at my heaviest, I look at it and I see the depression,
But is it the kind of thing where you're seeing it and nobody else really does because you're your own worst enemy? Or...
No, I think people do.
Yeah.
I think people have, and I think people have been very kind to me in my public life when they think that I am not okay. They ask me. Usually because I've been in therapy and working on my stuff since I was 20, and I am 56. And I go twice a week for 2 hours a time.
Wow. You've been doing that ever since you were 20, twice a week? Wow. Has it helped?
Tremendously. Yeah. And it continues to help. And, lots of things help. When perspective, I find, always helps.
Yeah.
Perspective. So, when my ex-wife took her own life, I understand what it takes to get to that place. And I understand what it feels like to stand on the edge of that metaphorically, not ever physically, like you were either brave enough or weak enough, depending on how you look at it, to do. You might think that was a weak act, right?
Afterward, I did. Yeah, sure. I felt like a failure. If I can't even kill myself, then what can I do? That's how I felt.
Well, other people would say, well, imagine the strength it takes to get out on top of a bridge.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm the other side of it. My depression is so deep that the work that it would take to do it almost seems too much of a challenge.
Actually, this is a really interesting point because antidepressants sometimes, and I take antidepressants because I figured out it works for me.
As do I, and I have since 1999.
I think I saw you mention it was after Columbine.
Yes, it was.
That you started to. So what was the trigger with? I mean, for lack of a better word.
Well, no, I had 2 children, and I couldn't believe that I was, quote unquote, powerful in America. My show was a big hit at the time. And that we were pulling shot up bodies out of high schools in America. Like, that was such a shock to my safety and my system. I have always had an issue with world events. Why? My mother died right when Saigon was being evacuated. Vietnam was the war that terrorized me at my dinner table watching it on TV. I would cry and say to my father, that lady, they kicked her off the thing. They would show horror, violence, murder, death on the news. And thank God they did. You know why? Because it got people to go into the streets and end that war.
Right.
Then they got smart. They're like, we're not going to show them anymore. Right?
Yeah.
We're not going to incite their rage and their basic
the bodies coming home, not even allowed to show those.
Correct. Yeah. Or the mothers of the injured, or the ones who come back, with TBIs, and there are so many, and that's a lifelong struggle. The amount of suicides from returning vets.
Yeah.
And my son is a Marine.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So how does that square with
It's
that
taken
experience?
a lot of work
Sure.
for me in therapy, and it will continue. I am very, very proud of him. At the same time, I am very scared for him. And I'm scared for us as a nation. And I take what happens in the world too personally. Like my therapist has explained to me, most people in their own safe, protected space have a window, a shade, probably a screen, sometimes curtains. Sometimes they have outdoor shutters. She said, all your windows are open. It's like the blast of Katrina blew out all the windows, and I could do nothing but see the people in the roofs needy. And as I step back, the more systemic problem of race in this country and poverty and inequality, and, it just becomes like I'm flooded with, Daddy, they're kicking that lady in Vietnam, and can we adopt the babies that were in the airlift, and then the plane with the babies in it crashed, and then my mother died, and it was like I was thrown into the middle of a tornado.
Were you close to your mother?
I was 10, so
Right.
and there were 5 small children, and she suffered with depression. And although we didn't have the words for it, I remember coming home from school, and there was like a little porch that we had that was closed on 3 sides, or all the sides, like a racquetball. You were walking in kind of and then the door to the house would be there. But it really reverberated the sounds inside the house on the porch. And I would come home, and she would always be playing music. And if it was Streisand, I knew I was okay. Everything was going to be good. She was going to be in a great mood. But if it was like Sound of Silence, Simon and Garfunkel, I knew it was going to be a bad day. So I don't remember very much about my mother because I was so young, and because grief then wasn't spoken of. Everything was kind of taken out of the house, and pictures of her and her clothes. And it was a very unnerving, unsettling time. And I think that I do have the genetic predisposition for depression on both sides of my mother's and my father's family.
So was that your father's way of trying to cope, do you think, of removing everything out of the house? And
I think, the people in his life, which there weren't many, told him what to do. There was no Oprah. You couldn't Google grief in children, mothers dying. Now people talk about it. Now, kids, there are grief groups. I don't know. It's a different world emotionally.
So when did you then realize that you were funny? Was it a result of that? Was it because to circle back to the comedian thing?
Well, we were always in our family. You couldn't tell the truth, but if you could make it funny,
right? Yeah,
you could.
Sure.
So I couldn't really cry about the things that were happening on the news. That you had to be sent to your room for crying, and I got sent to my room a lot because I used to, when things would like wound me, seeing a homeless person when I was little, going to Ireland and seeing gypsies and having them come and ask for a penny, and I'd start crying, and my father's like, "Why are you crying?" It was too sensitive, right? I'm a highly sensitive person.
Right. Do you still think that you are?
I do.
Yeah. So
I'm an overly sensitive, and I need to stop. I wish I could.
This is, I think, really interesting because your public persona has changed over the last few years, especially after the Rosie O'Donnell Show, where you were called the Queen of Nice.
That's not a couple of years. That's 20 years.
Jeez. So I went back and watched.
That's a long way away.
So I used to watch it with my mother, actually, when I was much younger. But, I went back and watched a bunch of old episodes. Like, for example, what was the one on that got quite a bit of controversy on gun violence? Tom Selleck's, yeah. So I had come across that, and the comment about it that I had read was how you had ambushed him. And I went back and watched it, and I'm like, she's the most reasonable person in the room. This is, you were very deferential. You apologized for disagreeing, which I didn't even think you had to do that.
Well, and then I got eviscerated.
Yeah, you did.
Well, I got put on the target list then, between the Murdoch company and Donald Trump and the Inquirer and every right-wing NRA nut job. And I had no idea what I was stepping into. I didn't really think of the billion-dollar industry and the strongest lobby in the country and what they will do to keep their position of money and power. For billions of dollars, people go crazy. And the threats were real and they were terrifying, and I felt very unsafe from then on.
And so that
was the beginning.
Yeah.
Before then, I wasn't really controversial in any way. My show was supposed to be Merv Griffin, where everybody got along. But even Merv, I mean, he had Yoko Ono, and it was Mike Douglas who did that, I think. But the point is, I didn't want a political show. But thank God I went off the air right after 9/11, because then the Bush years and the war, and, that was not a good time for me. And then my son becoming really fascinated with the military as a result of 9/11. He was a little boy. He was 6 years old, and he had always draw every day, and he would draw Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur's Court. And then after 9/11, it was all Army men, everything Army. I'm pretty much a pacifist. I don't believe in war. I just don't. I haven't since I was a little kid and I first saw it, and I had a visceral reaction that every kid and every really woke human being has to the concept of taking the lives of other people for profit. Like it's so against every instinct of being alive to kill people for money. And I'm against it. And it's hard to raise a Marine when you're a pacifist, but I somehow did it.
I imagine so. You said in your first show after 9/11, was it was Parker that you're talking about now, that he had told you about bin Laden, I think it was, that man really needs a hug or
Yes.
something along those lines.
And this whole thing that's in the news, the Sheikh Khalid, that guy. Well, when he was finally admitted every single thing that he possibly could, like, honestly, like the Kennedy assassination, like I was making a joke of what he, on The View, the day that he admitted everything after being tortured an inhumane amount of times. And that's only what we have on the record. Who knows what we did that wasn't even recorded to this one man. So I put his picture up and said, now this man, do you think after 183 waterboards of nearly drowned, 183 times you think you're going to die? Do you think that he really did all these things or just wanted it to stop? And then they put my head on that guy's body. So all yesterday, while the news was of him and his face, all I could see when I looked at it is the image of me on his body. Because they took my caring about torture, which, again, inhumane to think the United States of America tortures people. It's inhumane. It's against what we were founded on. It's against every principle of being a leader of the free world. So I don't know. You lose faith. I lose faith in it all when I get into the minutia, but I also am so overwhelmingly devastated by the lack of expedience, the amount of damage that's allowed to reoccur. And it has a lot of effects on people who lived in a house where abuse was happening and the grown-up was somehow always getting away with it. How is he getting away with it? We just said that his one lawyer accepted over $4 million in bribes to, where do you think that money is? Think Mikey Cohen got to keep it or Donald Trump has it? It's beyond catching somebody in the middle of a murder and a rape and just standing there and going, well, we don't have enough evidence yet. Keep stabbing, keep raping. We'll wait here. Well, that's our country that he's doing this to. And I don't understand why it's not happening faster, and it causes me tremendous anxiety, and I try to stay off as much as I can the screens, but that's why I'm doing all these obsessive doodles again, and I'm making a shadow box with faces of gun violence people. I mean, I don't know. I try to get it out in ways I can get it out.
Creative.
I will tell you that I did start on a new med about 12 weeks ago.
Okay.
And it's for OCD symptoms is what they're, and, when he had said to me, my psychopharmacologist, do you think your OCD is getting, I'm like, well, I can't stop drawing these pictures of him. Like every time he does something, I have to paint a picture of him and then put a word that represents how repulsed I am or how horrified I am. Like I have to do something, right? And since I've been on these meds, about 12 weeks, I haven't painted any pictures of
Really? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yes, that's a bonus because I would, some days I would do 3-4 images of him. It's like, I don't want to do it. And people would write me and say, why would you put it? He's renting space in your brain. I'm like, no, he's not renting it. He's in the condo. Right. He's squatting and refusing to leave. Do you think I'm enjoying painting him? Right. You know what? I feel like it's getting it out. I have to get it out in some way. Right?
Well, and you're probably the most vocal critic, at least from what I can tell, of him and his administration. And
well, I faced his wrath for over a decade, so I know what kind of vicious creature he is. I mean, I really do. And the stuff he's done that the American public doesn't know about or refuses to see and acknowledge, all of the sexual assault cases, that young girl, Katie Johnson, who he supposedly raped. Listen, this is not the Pizzagate story. This is an actual young girl where there were witnesses on the Jeff Epstein plane. I don't know. I think he is as evil as a human being can be.
So still got a few years yet to
I don't
go.
think so.
No? You think
No.
he'll be impeached before he...
Listen, I have to believe that he's going to be forced to stop raping and bludgeoning and stabbing and annihilating, disgracing, discrediting our entire government, its institutions, the people, that he colluded, that he conspired, that he allowed the Russian influence, encouraged, asked for in our election process. You really think that they didn't fix any of the numbers? Give me a goddamn break. They were not they had some pretty sophisticated help, and they did it all electronically, and we have the digital footprint. So it's going to come back. I don't know how they're so stupid.
Do you think was it, I'm sure it contributed to the swing in the election, but to go from Barack Obama, that's a pretty far swing of the pendulum to go to
I don't think
Donald
that he
Trump.
won legitimately.
No.
I can't allow myself to believe it.
Right.
All the facts say that it's impossible, that every single person said he was going to lose and that he won, and where he won, and by the percentages that he won, and where the Russians targeted. And it's very obvious. Same way it's very obvious that he's a serial sexual abuser.
Have you, because now you get trolled and borderline stalked by Trump supporters now, it seems, on social media.
Yeah, daily.
Daily. So how do you...
No matter what, even if what I say, even this woman wrote me and said, you have donated too much to people on your Secure Blue account. It's a public record. I said, oh, well, then they should send it back. Because basically I've got a laptop, I got an iPad, they all have different passwords. I'm trying to get it figured out, right? Some of them I'm signed in as Rose O'Donnell, some Rosie, some Roseanne. Always the same address, always the same credit card, always the same everything. But she had to put it in some nefarious, context. And I said to her, listen, in the middle of the night, when I can't sleep, I'm online and I'm emptying my mail, and nearly all of them ask for money. And the people who I probably saw that day on the news, I click yes. Adam Schiff, enjoy what you're doing, sir. Click. Who else? Nice commercial. Click. Everyone soothes themselves in the ways they can.
Yes.
I donate to the people who inspire me to know that we all have to hang on and we're going to get through this. And, do I try to overdo people? No. I assume once you hit your 2,700 or your 5,400, whatever it is, that they'll lock you out, right? Just like a credit card. Sorry, you don't have the balance in here. Sorry, you can't deposit there anymore. You have too much in there. But she created this whole thing. So now there's people online saying, and my kid calls me from school, are you getting arrested? Are you going to jail? I'm like, no, honey. I donated legally. Don't worry. They just are making things up. And the thing with the kid having autism, with Barron having autism, which people were up in arms about, as the parent of an autistic child, you constantly are looking to see other members of your child's tribe. They're like these angelic, intelligent little Martians. That's what my experience has been. It's been the most eye-opening thing, the most heart-expanding, the most compassion expanding thing that I have experienced is parenting this beautiful little baby girl. And she had just been diagnosed in October. He won in November. And somebody put So when I said, if it's true that he has autism, which if you live in New York and you're in the special needs autism community, it's not that hard to know people who know other people.
Sure.
If he had autism, what a wonderful thing for the cause, because the president's son, it would bring attention to it.
Yeah, and what I didn't like about the criticism, among the many things of that, was that would be the worst thing in the world.
Exactly,
for a kid to have
as if
autism.
that's something shameful that needs to be hidden, when it's not at all. And, you know, I mean, I don't know. So sometimes you just have to know what your intent is and know that for some reason you're in this weird dance with this guy in this very powerful position. And I'm not quite sure how we got here, but it does make me question why.
Yeah. Do you ever fear what he might do if you might be targeted in a more formal way?
I worry that about my son.
Yeah.
Because he's a Marine and he serves at the request of the president. That's what the Marines do. They're the president's army. So that's a very interesting dichotomy for me, right? Because here's my son who is true blue American hero, that kid. And he wants to protect our country and his family and the people in his life and world. And I got to say, it takes something very special to make it through Marine boot camp and the School of Infantry. He's going to be in the infantry. You know, I was begging him, please do drones. You know, come on, honey, you can do drones from a safe computer room. But that's not what he wants to do. He wants to be the first one in, boots on the ground. And, you know, there's something absolutely heroic in that brings tears to my eyes. And there's another part that just lives in pure horror, you know. And to know that things can be both, that there can be multiple feelings, and there are on everything. It's not really so clearly black and white, you know. The only thing that is clearly black and white to me is Donald Trump. Is the worst thing that's ever happened to our nation, and it will be very difficult to right the wrongs that he has whipped onto the nation's soul.
Do you think that this whole, I guess the past 2 years or whatever it's been, has been hard on your health, needing to put up with these people and his...
Well, you know, I had a heart attack 5 years ago, so 6 years ago now, because I'm 56. Woo! And I go to the doctor every 3 months because of that. I have gained 7 pounds from my lowest point of my weight. I was like 241 when I had my heart attack, and I've been in the 190s now for a fairly consistent time, but I just hit 200 again because of this new med. And it's been 12 weeks and 7 pounds. So, you know, a pound a week is not that's 50 pounds a year to gain. So we're going to have to talk to the doctor about doing that. This is something that people who are on meds have to face a lot, right? What are the repercussions and the side effects, and what are the downside, and then what do you weigh? So I'm going to weigh it against. And so I will ask my doctor when I go back in the next 2 weeks, what does she think about, is it worth, you know, to me it's worth it at the moment, because my OCD about worrying about the government and what's happening and feeling so completely out of control has really been quieted. I mean, I still drawing the pictures, but not as much. I still am watching Rachel and Nicole, but I don't do the whole thing anymore. I used to, like, was the OJ trial. I used to just get up and turn it on and put it on all day. And then I was like, my daughter kept saying, Mommy, more news? I was like, okay, I get the point. Enough news.
How old's your daughter now?
5.
Your youngest? 5. What's that like, raising a 5-year-old as a 56-year-old mother?
With autism.
With autism, yeah.
It should be a sitcom. It really should. And she says to me, like, I now have the gray hair for this show I'm doing on Showtime. And
it's great. Yeah.
She said to me, when are we going to have another baby? I'm like, honey, Mommy is too old. She's like, well, you should dye your hair back to black. And then we could adopt a baby.
Right.
But, you know, listen, as my therapist and I have worked on for many years, I over-identify with the mother narrative to the point that it almost quashes any other point of my self-identity.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Well, I feel I am first a mother,
Right.
and not anything else. And, because of that, it doesn't make me it good or bad. In fact, it doesn't allow me enough time for me and for doing things that are not involved with mothering. Like almost all of my time is because of, Dakota is here with me all the time. And then on the weekends, I go up to see my two who are younger, who are older, 18 and 15. And then we come back for school, drop her at school Monday. It doesn't leave me a lot of time to do adult 56-year-old woman stuff. But that's a choice I made, and I don't regret it. I'm trying to figure out how to do both without having everything be about being a mother. But it is how I see myself. More so than, famous or sister or friend or actress or, politician, political correspondent, political junkie.
Lately,
I don't know.
So you had, of course, a very public difficulty with Chelsea as well, and you said that you had said publicly that you had tried to get her help. And
we
that
did
it was very
get her
difficult.
help.
Oh, you did get her help. Okay.
Yeah, she was actually in a residential treatment program from the age of 12 to 16.
Yeah.
And then she was in Harvard McLean for a full year doing DBT. And then she lived with me from 17 to 18. And when she turned 18 she ran away. And, her challenges that she got genetically were overwhelming in some areas. And she's doing much better now, and we're communicating.
Good.
She's in a relationship that seems to be positive and not dangerous anymore, which is a huge plus. And she too has to make the declaration and the commitment to participate in your own mental health care. You have to every day. No one's going to fight the demon but you. I can set up all the different ways that she can and should do it, but she's 20 and living on her own. She got a house, living with her boyfriend and her dogs, which make her very happy. She's always been really connected to animals in a meaningful way for her in her life and world. And so she's got a couple dogs, and we're working through it.
Do you think it's harder for kids of famous people to be able to really navigate the system in an objective way and to be able to get the help they need?
Well, I think, in some ways she got the best help money can buy.
Right.
I don't know that that's necessarily, it's better than not getting your kid any help. I remember there were points where I was just crying to doctors on the phone going, have to tell me how we can help her. Because I said to the doctor, I pray to God that you never have a kid in this situation. And the doctor said to me, I actually do.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, then you need to help me. And we had amazing people. And a lot of times, age is really needed. Like they say, if she gets a little bit older, the older she gets, the more likely that she could live a happy, successful life.
Perspective, I guess.
Perspective. And she's apologized to me. And,
Really? Yeah.
yes. And it's very hard for her to believe that I could forgive her. It's hard for some other people in my life to do that as well. So we're working on it one-on-one.
Yeah, it's I guess that's the added layer that most people don't have to deal with, is the public only ever hears about the sensational
Well, yeah, but
fire.
What was really hard is that as somebody who has their own mental health issues, to see a predatory press use a child in a way that would really be hurtful to her, and she might not be able to fully see that. It got to the point where I would call up the producers of these shows and say, if she ever comes to you and wants to do an interview for no money, by all means do it. But you can never pay her one more cent to betray her family.
Yeah.
Every time you do it, she walks back further away from us. And that's not where she wants to go. She doesn't know what to do, right? She doesn't like to talk on the phone. We text pretty much every day. But it was difficult. It was very difficult. She had a difficult birth. She had a difficult gestation period. And I think that maybe today she would have been considered ASD, like Dakota. in some ways, I think, the creating a friendship, creating a long-lasting relationship has always been challenging, for her. Like every other parent of a kid who's suffering, you just want to make it better.
Yeah. When Michelle was here, when you guys were still together, did she have an important role in any of your kids' lives? I mean, especially Dakota.
We were together a year, then she got sick.
Okay.
And then we adopted Dakota. So she left before the baby was 2.
Okay. So she really didn't have to grieve, I guess, in that way.
No, but she does know now.
Okay.
That she died. She didn't really remember her that much, She would say, "Do you remember Mommy Michelle?" I'd say, "Yes, I do." She'd say, "She went away." I'd say, "I know. She went away. She was not ready to be a mommy. You have to be ready to be a mommy, And then she said to me, probably hearing it in the house or about 2 months ago, "Is Mommy Michelle died?" I said, "She is." She said, "Okay, now we have to just make some signs to tell everyone in the town. We have to tell everyone in the town." And I was like, "Okay, honey, what town?" "Where we are, like our town. We'll just have to have signs, and then she will be buried in a grave." She told me with just kind of precision, and the teacher said that she went into school and told everyone in the class without emotion or just announcing it, the news that she had to tell everyone. She knows my mother died, and she gets kind of worked up about that. There was a knick-knack shelf full of my mom's stuff that I had been, putting some in there, and I was just moving it around. And so I told her, "This is my mom's stuff, and we're not going to touch it." Well, I go to pick her up at school, and the teacher goes, "There was an issue about a tiny hammer in her pocket. She brought a little tiny hammer," which was one of my mom's things. And so she comes over to me with her hands up. Mommy, I was just keeping it safe for you. Mommy, it's okay. Everything's okay." Yeah. Right? So she couldn't resist the taking of this tiny little hammer. So we got home, and I said, "Do you love that hammer?" "Yes." And then she started to cry. She says, "But it's your mommy's. I shouldn't have took it." I'm like, "You know what? My mommy would want you to have it." So now she has the little hammer. Yeah. I know when she loses it, it's going to be a big to-do, but...
Yeah. That's like with my older son, when my mother died suddenly a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago. He was too young to remember, but he's starting to ask questions now.
Right.
So it's the same thing. He's going to school. He's talking a lot about death. And one of my worries, and I felt really bad for him, especially for that first year, to be in a house with I was a mama's boy, so it hit me particularly hard. So, I feel badly for him being, I guess, on the receiving end of that as my kid. But now that he's talking so much about death, I worry, gee, what do they think we do at home? He's going to school asking about death and dying and killing and all this stuff. So, it's tough trying to explain that to kids. He asks me if Nana's in the clouds.
Yes.
I don't. And
she has said that too.
Yeah, and I don't know how to explain it to him.
My teens did ask me if I would ever kill myself.
Really?
Yes, when she did.
Yeah.
They said, "Do you think you would ever kill yourself?" And I said, "No." I said, there's a thing called suicidal ideation where you spend a lot of time thinking about how you would kill yourself. I said, and I thank God, but I don't have that.
Yeah.
Now, I have been so sad sometimes, so unbelievably depressed that I didn't think I could take another breath, and I felt like I would die. But never, like they were worried. When someone kills themselves in your orbit, it's a very traumatic thing. She had been gone for more than 2 years, but she had been with us for 2 years, and it was hard on the kids.
So you've never had that kind of inclination in your life? It's never crossed your mind?
Well, again, I so identify with being a mother first.
Right.
That if it ever would enter my head, like I remember after 9/11, it was pretty bad time for everyone. And I remember thinking then that I had these kids. I didn't have any choice. I had to live. So rather than thinking about dying, I talk myself out of it. So I will go to, there is no way you are the mother of 5 children. You are not doing that. period. You know, the worst thing that ever happened to me was that she died. So I could never do that, although I understand that's not a moral high ground. That's more like a chemical glitch that I got other things, but I didn't get that one.
Well, I mean, I think that's something to be grateful for, and certainly being able to anchor yourself outside of yourself in something else. Because, you know, from personal experience, when you're suicidal, you're so stuck inside yourself that you can't see anything else.
Well, in my depression, I have had that.
Yeah.
You know, where you sometimes like you would think they'd be better off without me. You know, they'd be better, but I can't convince myself of that ever because it was so obviously not my truth when my mother died.
Right. It
was like the ending of something and the beginning of something else.
So what's next for you? I mean, it seems like you're taking a lot of steps to take care of yourself, to try to get through this.
Yeah,
time.
I really am waiting till he's out. I have to say, I don't know for what, but I'm really waiting, and I just feel.
Well, it seems like political is very profitable right now. I mean, you know, Colbert is doing very well, and the idea there is because he's way more political than Fallon is. You know, have you ever thought about late night or using the political shtick? No?
I don't think, you know, I mean, I don't think it serves best. I think that doing a show like SMILF where I get to really embody a working class woman and let Frankie Shaw with her beautiful prose create the same exact messages that I would want to create politically, only I get to do it without having to be the target, you know? So
I love how real your character is in that show too.
Yeah,
I've gone back and watched it, and there's this one little moment right in the very first episode. It might even be one of your first scenes where you have this little flash of anger, and it's just and it just comes and goes, and you see it in your eyes, and it's just really
Yeah, there was one scene where she said something like, I'm like, don't you tell me to calm down.
I think that was it. But like,
I saw it back. I thought that was scary.
But I watched it and I'm like, I don't think she's acting.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It was,
exactly.
Yeah, it was.
Well, you know,
gripping.
that's the thing of being that kind of raw and vulnerable. Like my kids are like, you know, she's kind of like you. I'm like, well, all right. But, you know, I mean, it's a beautiful character, and I'm very happy that I get to do it and, you know, go up there with all of them in Boston for the whole summer. Like, that's a dream, you know, and there's all the babies are there, and there's a lot of kids around Dakota's age, which she loves, and for her, it's like camp.
Yeah.
I think it'll go for a few years. I mean, she seems like she's really, I don't know, like sometimes I'll read the script and I'll think, what's that going to be? And then I watch it and I go, holy shit. Like sometimes I don't see it in the script, but when she puts it all together with the music, and she edits herself.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. The kid's a genius.
Yeah. She
said to me when we went to one of these horrible, horrible nights where you have to like try to get an Emmy nomination. I said to Cindy, I go, this is pathetic. We're trying to get our own nominations. Like, I don't want to do this. It's so creepy. But she said to me, don't talk about me like in that way when we're out there, because I'm like, but I'm proud of you. I think you are a genius. I'm going to say what I want to say. Tough shit. You know, and I felt like her mother saying that too. Like, she didn't get how great she is. Yeah. I don't think she gets it. Yeah. And it's a profound show, and I'm really proud to be part of it. And it's really enough for now.
Do you like being, do you rather being on the supporting end rather than, because you've always been a lead in a lot of stuff, at least ever since the earlier movies.
Yeah, well, but you also know that there's a short lifespan for the funny best friend, right?
Sure.
You get like, 5 years of stuff. And, now there's so many women who are calling their own shots, like Melissa McCarthy and Amy Schumer. And I'm very proud of them making their own movies. And, I am 56, and it's a little bit different. Like when I see Frankie Shaw at 32 years old being able to do this, and I'm 56 years old, and it amazes me. And to think as a feminist how far we've come in just that amount of time. And when I talked to her, she wanted to put in all of the stuff about mental illness. She's like, we're going to make her dark and bipolar and snappy, and I'm like, okay, good, I'm in. Because I wanted it to be real. I said, and I don't want any makeup at all. She's like, at all? I said, yeah, no.
You don't wear makeup in the, really? Wow.
Because I think she wouldn't,
Yeah.
right? And I just thought she wouldn't.
It's also easier, I imagine, to be able to show
Well,
up.
it is a little bit, yeah.
I talked to Glenn Close a few days ago about her character Alex Forrest in Fatal Attraction,
Ooh.
and right, and she always, and for a long time, even when the movie first came out, she described that character as tragic, not evil. Which I thought was interesting. She really wanted to get into the psychology of that character. But also she's talked a lot since about how the portrayal of mental illness on film and in TV shows has changed and evolved for the better, I think.
Right.
It seems to be much more about real people who happen to have this other thing going on rather than
Well,
the
it's
psychopath.
both and not either or. That's
Right.
the thing with
Right.
mental. Everybody has some. And if you don't have some, you're not looking hard enough.
Yeah.
Right? You got something in your family, someone you like. It's just part of the human experience, part of the human condition. And we're incarnate, souls incarnate, and we have to deal with these things that are often too much for the circuitry, you know?
Yeah. I find there's such a tendency, especially among young people that I talk to just want to label themselves as only that, as only being the depressed person or the anxious person.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
There is so much more, right. And I think that character that she played must have been borderline personality, not bipolar.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what she said. Yeah, that,
sociopathic almost to the point of.
Yeah,
that was a terrifying role.
It really was. I went back and watched that too, and but as a great counterpoint to showing how complex characters are now too. It's not just the evil character and I mean Glenn. Was adamant about the fact that she wasn't an evil character. She wasn't supposed to be evil.
Right.
But when you put something out there into the world, people want to see it as a horror movie.
Well, I mean, it was a horror movie because
Sure.
but I think that that's one story and one manifestation. They say with autism, if you've met one kid with autism, you've met one kid with autism.
Right.
Like everyone is different. There are people who say to me, that kid doesn't have autism. I'm like, right, but she was tested twice. First, right before Trump won, in case it was anomaly that the earth was getting ready for something horrible. And then just about a month ago. Yeah. And, every kid with autism, it manifests different. And with this baby, it's so far manifested, really beautifully. And I know that there are people who have kids with autism that are so much more challenging than my daughter. And it's not a contest or a competition, but I do know that for my kid, it's been a magical blessing.
You've been through so much. You've done so much. You've seen so many different angles, I think, of not just the mental health world, but really the entire human experience, being a person with depression who's explored all kinds of different treatment options for a long time, a parent trying to do parenting, trying to be in a relationship, and mental illness seems to pop up in all of these different contexts, so you've dealt with it in all those different ways, and you keep going, even in the face of relentless harassment and trolling.
Yes.
Every day you keep going. What keeps you going? Why do you keep doing this?
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. That's why I like MMA fighting too. Like, these people get the shit kicked out of them, and some of them stand back up. It's miraculous, right? Yeah. That's what you just want everyone to do. Just stand back up, And when Chelsea was calling me and apologizing and not knowing if there was ever a way towards togetherness again, right? Feeling that she had done what she had done was so unforgivable, And I'm like, wow, get back up, honey. Let's get up. Okay, let's everybody get up. Let's move forward.
Keep moving.
Onward.
Just keep swimming.
Exactly. Onward. Yeah. You got to go. There's no other choice, right? I mean, depression is always with me. It's not like I'm always depressed, but It's always there. It's not like I'm ever going to be able to get it out of me. It's not like I'm going to be cured of it. I hope I go through, phases where there's, remission, where I don't struggle. I'm medicated by a great psychopharmacologist, and, this new stuff that he tried to help with my OCD. He said it's a very strange kind of amount of time. He said, you should be able to tell in 2 or 3 days. And 2 or 3 days later, I called him up and said, I have not drawn one Trump picture today. And he's like, what? I said, well, usually by now I'd be watching the news and drawing and angrily tweeting, but I wasn't. So that was such a huge relief, you know. I mean, it's always with me, and I'm always trying to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
And I'm always open to hearing other people's stories who are living with it like me and who realize it's just part of the gig.
Yeah. Is there anything about any of these struggles that you're grateful for?
I think all of them. I mean, listen, how bland and boring would your life be if you had the perfect, kind of like tennis whites life, People who run around in tennis whites, I always think they're probably got their shit together in some way, much more than I could. I went to one of these tennis places once and I was like wearing a Mickey Mouse red shirt and boy shorts. And they were like, you have to have tennis whites. I'm like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
They go, well, you need to wear white and shorts or a skirt. I'm like, well, then I'm quitting this club. I don't have any of those things, and I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah.
So, but even those people you find, they have something in their life that tortures and torments them. You never know what it is. And that's why I love the show. Not that this is a plug for anything, but that's why I love the show that I'm on Showtime, because of that, because it is, she just keeps going, Tutu.
Yeah.
No choice.
No choice.
She's going to have some challenges this season.
So stay tuned.
Yes, indeed.
Well, thank you so much for this,
Thank you
Rosie.
for coming all the way to New York.
I was happy to do it. It was really a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me into your home. Watch SMILF, I hope.
Yes.
Everybody. It's a great show. I watch it too. And,
excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. Thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Rosie O'Donnell. I wanted that to be the first episode of this show, but we've got lots more coming. And we've got a special coming up as well this week for Bell Let's Talk Day on January 30th. I have a very special episode with my friend Michael Landsberg. So tune in for both of those. Keep tuning in weekly. Subscribe, rate. You can catch me on Twitter and Facebook at Mark Hennick, at MarkHenick. That's one N. Don't forget one N. Or you can go to markhennick.com/so-called normal. Thank you again so much for listening. Hope to talk to you again soon.